What happened on that fateful night? Marna Engelbrecht and Sharnelle Hough, full of dreams, were tragically caught in a web of crime. A threatening phone call from an obsessed ex-boyfriend sets the stage for a chilling story of rage and mystery. Was Xander the key to their deaths, or is there more to uncover? The truth behind these murders will leave you on the edge of your seat.
In the early morning hours of May 26, 2018, a boarding school employee witnessed a grisly scene. The body of Sharnelle Hough, a 17-year-old girl, was found hanging near the stairwell railing of her girls' dormitory. Minutes later, police found another victim, Marna Engelbrecht, Sharnelle's best friend. What initially appeared to be a double tragedy, however, eerie details in the evidence began to emerge. What appeared to be a tragic loss turned into a cold case as the investigation unfolded into a tangle of relationships, hauntings, and mysterious threats. Sharnelle grew up on a farm in Delville, a small town in the northwest province of South Africa. She lived with her father, Ronnie, her stepmother, Anna, and her stepmother's son, Eston, whom Sharnelle considered her brother. Her parents divorced when she was young, but they remained on friendly terms. Her father was a cattle farmer, while her mother, Sonia, worked at a tourist resort. Before attending Stella boarding school, Sharnelle would spend 3 weeks at her father's farm and 1 week at her mother's. However, after attending school, she had fewer opportunities to visit her mother. It was then that she ran into Marna Engelbrecht, a childhood friend with whom she had been very close but had lost touch. The two girls had a strong friendship that had been interrupted by circumstances. When they moved to Stella, they quickly reconnected. Their families already had a deep connection. Marna's mother had played at Sharnelle's parents' wedding. Both families, with strong farming backgrounds, often met at church services and community events. The Northwest Province, where the two families live, is largely agricultural. The area is covered with vast savannas, home to generations of farmers. Descendants of 17th-century European settlers, known as Afrikaners, have maintained family traditions, although their influence has waned since the end of apartheid. This has further strengthened the bond between the Hough and Engelbrecht families, reflecting their shared culture and values. 8 years after their childhood separation, Sharnelle and Marna reunited at Stella boarding school in 8th grade. For Sharnelle, living away from her family and adjusting to independent living in a boarding school environment was a big step. Her father was busy with farm work and her mother lived far away, making her cherish her friendship with Marna more than ever. In March 2017, Sharnelle noticed Xander, an 18-year-old boy who attended Stella boarding school. He was attractive with a muscular build, thick black hair, and captivating green eyes. Despite graduating, Xander has maintained ties to the local community and is often seen around the school area. His family has had its share of problems, with his parents divorcing when he was young. Xander lives with his father on a farm about 50 miles from Stella, but occasionally visits his mother, although they are not on particularly close terms. Before Xander came into Sharnelle's life, she spent most of her time pursuing the same interests as Marna. They both loved animals and were passionate about horseback riding, a hobby they had enjoyed since childhood. Sharnelle also had a passion for photography and had dreamed of pursuing it as a career, although her father thought she had the potential to be a model. Meanwhile, Marna was a hard-working student with strengths in math and science, and nurtured her dream of becoming a veterinarian thanks to her childhood memories of working on the family farm. Marna lives with her parents near the town of Freiburg. Her father, Stefan, is a well-respected drilling expert and has a special affection for his youngest daughter, often calling her affectionately, "Daddy's little sunshine." Marna, a thoughtful and calm person, has a mother Renette who works as a caregiver, while her older sister Ryan plays an important role in the family. Marna's family is known in the community for their close-knit relationship, and their lives seem harmonious and stable. Two friends, Marna and Sharnelle, share a dorm room at their boarding school and spend most of their free time together. Sharnelle stands out for her charm, while Marna is known for her intelligence and kindness. They often go home on weekends, but sometimes stay at each other's houses. Sharnelle's father, Ronnie, treats Marna like his own daughter, and the two families maintain a warm, supportive relationship. However, behind the happy and stable exterior lies a much more complicated reality. Xander, who has just entered Sharnelle's life, brings with him a tumultuous past. His parents' divorce and his difficult childhood shaped him into a confident yet deeply troubled person. Xander's mother, Marcia, always considered her son special. After several failed attempts to get pregnant, she finally gave birth to Xander after a complicated pregnancy. Her health problems as a child made Marcia even more protective and attached to her son, even as he grew older. In contrast, Xander's father, Monty, a former police officer, raised his son with strict discipline and instilled in him a passion for sports, hunting, and the outdoors. From a young age, Xander joined his father on fishing trips, shooting practice, and exploring the woods, making these activities an important part of his life. Despite his strong physique, Xander has a complex personality. While at school, he stood out for his excellent performance in football, but his hot temper often led to conflicts. He argued with teachers, argued with classmates, and even confronted adults. Xander's parents were often summoned to school meetings, but Marcia always defended her son, saying that his behavior was just a way of expressing his own personality. After graduating, Xander did not continue his studies and decided to help his father manage the farm. He hardly appeared on social media, only posting pictures of guns and hunting trophies. Although he lived a rather private life, Xander's handsome appearance and charming demeanor still attracted the attention of many girls. At a school event, Sharnelle first noticed Xander. At that time, Xander and some former students were invited to interact with current students. Their first meeting was brief, but their mutual attraction soon led to them spending more time together. Sharnelle, then a senior in high school, was drawn to Xander's confidence, athleticism, and charm. In just a few weeks, their relationship developed rapidly. Xander showed a special interest in Sharnelle, doing everything he could to make her happy. When it came time to introduce her to her family, Xander was eager to make a good impression. Sharnelle's father, Ronnie, was initially cautious, but he gradually came to appreciate Xander's interest in the farm and even helped out with chores. These moments marked the beginning of their story. However, beneath that harmonious exterior, Xander's hot temper and stubbornness soon emerged. These traits could affect the relationship later on. It was only a matter of time. Marna was the first to notice a change in Sharnelle. The once close friend gradually became more distant and less in touch. At first, the change was subtle, but over time, it became obvious. Sharnelle often found excuses to avoid seeing Marna or her mutual group of friends, citing being busy or tired. Marna noticed that it all started when Xander completely controlled Sharnelle's social life. At first, this control was subtle. Xander would ask where she was and who she was with, which Sharnelle took as concern. Gradually, he began to ask for access to her phone, social media accounts, and text messages. Sharnelle complied, believing that Xander's jealousy was a sign of love. The situation came to a head when they were preparing for their senior prom. While shopping for a dress with her mother, instead of enjoying the moment, Sharnelle was stressed about Xander. He insisted on previewing her dresses, asking her to wear light makeup and style her hair the way he liked. Not wanting to cause conflict, Sharnelle reluctantly complied. She later confided in a few friends about her discomfort, but she still did not realize the severity of the problem. Xander's control continued to escalate. He interfered with Sharnelle's friendships, disliking those he considered a bad influence. If she spent time with friends, he demanded a detailed explanation. Over time, Sharnelle gradually narrowed her social circle to avoid conflict, even limiting her meetings with Marna. Marna tried to talk her out of it, pointing out that Xander's behavior was unacceptable, but Sharnelle convinced herself and everyone else that this was just a temporary trial. She believed that Xander would change. But in reality, he became more and more controlling. Even at family dinners, Sharnelle felt his watchful eyes. Sharnelle's family initially accepted Xander, but gradually noticed that their daughter became less confident, often falling into a state of withdrawal. They thought that academic pressure was the cause, but only Marna understood the real problem. By January 2018, Sharnelle decided to break up with Xander. The relationship had become too suffocating and stressful. This decision caused Xander to react negatively. He threatened suicide, sent a series of messages to manipulate Sharnelle's emotions in the hope that she would change her mind. Despite the stress, this time Sharnelle stood her ground. During this time, Sharnelle's best friend Marna was caught up in the conflict. Xander accused her of turning Sharnelle away from him and began sending Marna abusive, threatening messages. Concerned, Marna confided in her father, Stefan. He immediately intervened, contacted Xander, and asked him to stop the harassment. Although this temporarily calmed the situation, Xander's hostility did not completely disappear. A few months after the breakup, Sharnelle began spending more time with Brandon Victor, a longtime friend she had known since she was 14. Brandon, a high school senior with a good reputation, was known for his kindness and athletic achievements. He was a good listener and helped Sharnelle overcome the pressure from Xander. Gradually, their friendship developed into a closer relationship, but they decided to keep it a secret because they knew that Xander still had an unhealthy obsession with Sharnelle. Even after the breakup, Xander did not leave Sharnelle alone. He followed her, showing up at her usual places and constantly texting her. This behavior made Sharnelle and Brandon more cautious. They avoided public places where they might see Xander and kept their relationship a secret to avoid provoking him. Despite her efforts to find peace, Sharnelle still felt the pressure of Xander's persistent harassment. His refusal to accept the truth and his constant attempts to interfere with her life created a tense and increasingly dangerous atmosphere. Early in the morning of May 26, 2018, an unnatural silence fell over the boarding school dormitory. An employee, Christelle, started her workday around 6 a.m., walking down the hallway to check if the students were awake. As she passed the bathroom, she noticed black hair on the floor. At first, she thought it was just hair that had fallen out while combing her hair and paid no attention. However, as she approached the stairs leading to the ground floor, she noticed a green nylon rope tied to the railing. At that moment, Christelle was stunned to see a pair of legs and white socks floating in midair. A few hours earlier, at 4:17 a.m., at her home, Sharnelle's mother, Sonia, woke up to find a disturbing text message from her daughter.
Mom, I just wanted to say I love you and I'm sorry.
What caught Sonia's attention was the misspelling of sorry, which was unusual since Cheryl was always careful with her grammar. Worried, she immediately called her daughter, but the phone was turned off. Sonia panicked, calling her ex-husband, Ronnie, to ask if he had heard from Sharnelle. Ronnie, who was asleep, reassured Sonia that everything had been normal the night before. But when he checked his phone, he found two strange messages from Sharnelle. The first message, sent at 3:42 a.m., included a photo of Sharnelle in lingerie with the caption, "I love you, Brandon." The second message, sent at 4:17 a.m., read, "Dad, I'm sorry. Marna and I are leaving." The suggestive content made Ronnie fear for his daughter's safety. He immediately contacted the school's principal, Richard Hobson, to report the incident. Christelle, trying to figure out what was going on, returned to Sharnelle and Marna's room. But the room was empty. The girls' belongings were neatly arranged, with no signs of disorder. Sensing something was wrong, Christelle returned to the stairs, where she had seen the rope. At the same time, strange messages continued to reach Sharnelle's family and friends. Her boyfriend, Brandon, also received a message during the night. He tried calling back, but no one answered. The morning was supposed to start with a football game, but news of a serious incident spreads quickly through the school. When Ronnie and Sonia arrive at school hoping to find out the truth, the atmosphere is tense and filled with anxiety. Principal Richard Hobson receives a panicked call from Christelle. Her voice is shaking as she reports that she has found the body of Sharnelle Hough, a student at the school, hanging from the stairwell railing in the dormitory. Hobson, shocked, tries to get more information, but the call is cut off when Christelle drops her phone and runs to get help. At the same time, the police arrive at the scene and find not only Sharnelle, but a second body, Marna, in the first floor bathroom. A backpack strap is tied tightly around her neck. Initially, the police suspected that the two girls had taken their own lives. but when they examined the scene, the marks on their bodies did not match those of a typical suicide. Suspicion of criminal behavior gradually formed. Fingerprints on the rope and backpack strap became important evidence. Xander's name was constantly mentioned in the students' conversations. Private investigator Chris Sanders, hired by Principal Hobson, quickly got involved. When questioning Brandon, he revealed that Xander had always been obsessed with Sharnelle and had threatened her after the breakup. Marna's father, Stefan, was running out of patience. Furious, he went straight to Xander's house to confront him, but almost made the matter more complicated. Finally, Chris Sanders convinced Xander to go to the police station. On the way, after being pressed by sharp questions, Xander broke down and confessed to all his crimes. He admitted to killing Sharnelle out of jealousy, then murdered Marna to cover up the evidence. In March 2019, his behavior and motives became the central focus. One of the most critical pieces of testimony came from Anastasia Fesser, an acquaintance of Xander's from fish competitions. She recounted a phone call she received from him the day before the tragedy, during which he angrily declared that he wouldn't let Sharnelle live her life without him. His chilling statement about making her life unbearable now stood out as a direct warning of what was to come. Anastasia admitted that she hadn't taken Xander's words seriously at the time, dismissing them as an emotional outburst. However, looking back, she regretted not reporting his comments to the police or warning anyone close to Sharnelle and Marna. Her testimony became a crucial part of the trial, shedding light on Xander's obsession and the premeditated nature of his actions. During the trial, Brandon Victor, Sharnelle's new boyfriend, provided key testimony. Brandon recounted how, on the evening of May 24, 2018, he secretly snuck into the girls' dormitory to spend time with Sharnelle and Marna. They talked, laughed, and discussed recent events, trying to lighten the tense atmosphere. However, their evening was interrupted by a call from Xander. Sharnelle put the phone on speaker so Brandon and Marna could hear the conversation. At first, Xander spoke calmly, trying to persuade her to meet him. When she refused, his tone became threatening, ending with a chilling statement that she would regret her decision. After the call, Sharnelle was visibly frightened but insisted that Brandon return to the boys' dormitory, worried they'd get in trouble if anyone found out he was there. This decision marked the last time Brandon saw Sharnelle and Marna alive. The following day, police discovered their bodies, setting off the investigation that ultimately led to Xander's arrest. The defense attempted to challenge the validity of the evidence, arguing that Xander's confession had been coerced. However, testimony from private investigator Chris Sanders and recordings of Xander's statements dismantled their argument. Psychological evaluations described Xander as emotionally unstable, with a pathological fixation on Sharnelle. His jealousy, obsessive need for control, and inability to cope with their breakup were identified as factors leading to the tragedy. The role of Xander's family also came under scrutiny. His mother, who had been overly protective of him since childhood, had consistently defended him, disregarding concerning behavior. Initially, his father, Monty, a former police officer, acknowledged his son's guilt and stated that justice needed to be served. However, after the sentencing, which included 2 life terms, Monty reversed his position, accusing the legal system of being unjust and hiring lawyers to appeal the verdict. For the families of Sharnelle and Marna, there was some comfort in knowing the 2 inseparable friends were now laid to rest beside each other. This case highlights the importance of recognizing hidden issues in interpersonal relationships and taking proactive steps to prevent tragedies. It also raises questions about the role of upbringing and emotional support in shaping an individual's character, and how unresolved emotional struggles can lead to devastating outcomes. Thank you for joining us today. If you enjoyed this story and want to dive deeper into more intriguing mysteries, be sure to subscribe to Hidden Truths and hit the notification bell so you never miss an update.